Hi, I'm GZO. Welcome back to the studio. Let's get it. Drawing with pen and ink is something every artist must practice, especially if you're an aspiring manga artist using traditional means to ink your pages. Both traditional and digital artists rely on different types of pens and ink to produce their desired quality of line work and render details. It's easy for beginners to be intimidated by using pen and ink because of the permanence on the page. If you make a mistake, there's no going back. But that's part of the fun though. That's not something you should be scared of. Literally, that's why using a pen is great practice for paying attention to detail and being decisive with your line work. If you do end up making mistakes, just roll with it. There's no one here but you. In this video, I review the pens and ink supplies I use to get the job done and showcase some inexpensive products that you can use for yourself. First, using my trusty red pencil, I laid down a rough sketch of the objects I wanted to render in ink. See, you don't have to go completely freehand. Now, let's look at the pens that I'm working with. You pull out a separate sheet of clean paper to swatch or test the quality of the pens that you have. Swatching allows you to map out the size of your pen tips. This helps gauge the strength, thickness, ease, and overall quality of your pen strokes. The first brand I tested is the pack of Faber-Castell black ink pens. I've had these for years and they haven't dried out yet, for the most part. This is a pack of 8, ranging from extra small, 0.01 millimeters, to large 3 millimeter brushes. Below these, I took the liberty to test out the other black art supplies I have. I have a variety of materials varying from cheap markers bought from the 99-cent store to fancy brush pens I've received as gifts. If you look closely, you should be able to compare the different shades of black. The second brand I tested is the Prismacolor illustration markers. As indicated on the cover, these are especially advertised towards manga artists because they offer fine lines, a brush pen, and a chisel pen for filling out large black areas. This pack of 8 also includes 2 brown pens for artist choice. Not all pens are built the same. There are many artistic brands to explore that offer different tones of black ink. Some pens are higher quality than others. For instance, some are more resistant to water or less wet in general. I prefer these types of pens because if they dry quickly, it prevents accidental streaks from happening if you have sweaty hands like me, or if you brush against the surface of your page. Good quality pens are less likely to bleed through the page or get damaged by using water-based paints and markers. This is important if you're going to color after inking. Alright. After accounting for the different types of pens available, let's warm up before inking the final line work. There are different pen and ink drawing techniques. These techniques can be used to produce different textures and surfaces within your drawing by layering the pen strokes. Last but not least, you should also practice how to create the illusion of light in your pen and ink drawings. I drew 6 bubbles to practice how to draw light shining on an object. You can use the same hatching technique, or you can distinguish highlights by leaving specific areas white. I filled the last 2 bubbles in solid black and used white ink to produce realistic highlights on the objects. This is also a method to test the strength of my white ink pens. Judging by the results, I might need to invest in some new ones. Okay, thems are the basics. Now that you know how to handle the tools and techniques for pen and ink drawing, let's have some fun and put the skills to the test. I decided I'm only going to use the Faber-Castell pens to maintain the same black tone for all the drawings. If you've seen my previous sketches and study sessions, you know that I like to outline an object in thick black Sharpie lines. However, I quickly noticed that the Sharpie's ink shines when it's under a bright spotlight like the one I'm using, and it doesn't match the black ink of the Faber-Castell pens. I felt like this was taking attention away from my line work. And I don't like that, because these details take freaking forever to render. So I switched up and used a thicker brush that closely matched the consistency of the pens and didn't shine. I used white ink gel pens when necessary. If I colored over details with solid black, I went in with the white pen to redraw some of those details and emphasize the fine lines. Now, what exactly am I drawing today? What's with all the drinks? Well, what you see on the page are all my favorite drinks that I had while traveling in Japan. Every drink has a backstory. These drinks consist of coffee, juice, and alcohol. Some of the beverages stand out to me because they are unique to the restaurants and bars my friends and I visited in Japan. So you can only find some of these in Japan. Iconic choices indeed, and iconic story times to match. Maybe that will be for another video. Here are 6 basic techniques you can practice according to the pen company. This blog post was a pretty good reference for the following techniques. Hatching. Considered one of the most basic techniques, the lines go in the same direction within a specific area and do not cross over each other. The closer the lines are, the darker the shading. Cross-hatching. Similar to regular hatching, except that the lines cross. You start with the basic hatching technique, then create another layer of lines that overlap at different angles. Cross-hatching creates deep shadows and texture, with more layers resulting in denser shading. Stippling. Stippling adds many dots to give the illusion of shadow and depth, and highly concentrated dots create a deeper shadow. Many pen and ink artists use this technique with a small, nibbed pen to have greater control over their drawings. Contour. Contour helps create the illusion of shape, as the lines follow the curve of an object. The technique is similar to hatching, except that the curved lines are imperfect. Lines closer together will give a stronger shadowy effect. Circular patterns. These create light and dark shadows in pen and ink drawings, with small circles creating more dense shading. I think this captures natural textures, such as curly hair or foliage. The 6th one, creative mode. You can honestly always create your own shading method to produce the desired shadows and tones for your drawing. Make your own thing. I like covering areas in solid black and then using lines that follow the shape to give the illusion of the shadow fading into light. To match the 2nd page, I drew over the color that bled through the previous page, which also showcased some of my favorite drinks from last year. So I'm keeping with the same theme of drawing drinks. On the 1st page, I focused on rendering the drinks realistically by using alcohol markers. I feel like it only makes sense to recreate these drinks in the reverse method, by drawing them in black and white, focusing on the line work instead of the color. So I outlined the color that bled through the page. Finally, once I finish my pen and ink drawing, I can take a step back and critique the quality of my line work, while comparing how accurately I rendered the drinks from the reference image. Overall, I'm satisfied with the finished results. I noticed that some of the drawings seem to skew or lean to the right. I blame my angles. I should have moved the page around to produce smoother curves with my wrist positioned at a better angle. As a last bit of fun, and to test myself, I scanned the black and white drawings to Procreate and added color to see how accurate the line work imitates real life. In other words, I'm seeing if I did a good job of making the pen and ink drawing look real. Adding the color should supplement the good foundation of the drawing. So if I did a good job, the color shouldn't be the defining factor that lets the audience identify the drink. You guys should be able to tell what the drink is in just black and white. After adding the color, I think it looks even better. And this was really fun. I'm happy with my work. I think I made it almost as accurately as possible to the reference images. And that was it. Please like and subscribe if you'd like to see more tutorials. More importantly, leave a comment if you got value from this video. Did you learn how to use pen and ink? Did the video do what it was supposed to? Was there anything I said that confused you? Got any questions that need answering? Let me know in the comments below. Do all the YouTube things. See you next time.